Hey guys, Rift here, and today we're going to be looking at Raimi's Spider-Man versus Raiden from the Metal Gear Revengeance game to see who would win a fight. This is a very random matchup, I know, but honestly I was just brainstorming ideas for future videos, and hey, this was one of them, so let's get started. Before we begin though guys, I just want to say a massive thank you. We reached 7,000 subscribers yesterday, which is insane, and a massive thank you. Let's see if we can reach 7,500 by the end of the year. That'd be awesome. But I won't waste any more time, let's get started. When looking at Raiden, his scaling is fairly inconsistent, but the general consensus I've found is that lowballing him, he should be around town to large town, maybe in the city ranges comfortably due to various calculations. However, if you highball the scaling to the verse, he should be around island level due to being capable of slicing armored vehicles that were thrown at such insane speeds that the rain appeared to be frozen in place, which was calced to over 7 gigatons of TNT, which is pretty insane, but it's around the high limits for his scaling I could find. In terms of combat speed, Raiden should easily be in the relativistic ranges as he can dodge lasers after they've been fired, and when mixing in his Blade and Ripper modes, which amp his speed and attack power respectively, he moves so fast that rain looks frozen in place for a period of time, which would put his combat and reaction speed at around 11% of the speed of light, and he's capable of reacting to characters like Monsoon and Armstrong who scale off of him. In terms of durability, due to Newton's third law, the island level scaling should very much apply to him, even though he's using things like the HF Blade, which kind of bypass durability in a sense. However, even if we lowball his durability, it should still be within the large town to city ranges, as he could survive attacks from Stephen Armstrong, who was strong enough to destroy the Excelsus with a single punch, which was calculated to 182 kilotons of TNT. In terms of intelligence and skill, Raiden is heavily gifted as he is a genius in combat. He's a practiced killer and masters art of combat even from an early age. He was able to match Solid Snake in a fight, and he's also very skilled at stealth and espionage. Not to mention his combat style is very unpredictable since he incorporates things like dancing into his combat style, making him a very unpredictable fighter on the battlefield. Raiden's HF Blade makes for a very dangerous weapon as it's capable of destabilizing the molecular structure of whatever it cuts through, meaning that it's capable of cutting through most things in the verse if you don't have a specific resistance to it, like the nanomachines that make up Armstrong's body. Due to his cybernetic enhancements, Raiden has fantastic perceptual awareness. He can see in the dark and he is aware of his surroundings. He can also detect opponents through walls and get a surveillance based on that. He has electricity manipulation as he can generate electricity just with his cyborg body. He can absorb electrolyte cells from other cyborgs to, restore his health and stamina. He has the Ninja Run, which is a high-speed dash technique. He's a master swordsman and martial artist to the extent that he can create his own styles of combat, and he has Blade Mode, which increases his power and speed, with Ripper Mode also giving him further bloodlust in combat and further improving his strength and speed respectively. And that's not even factoring in any of the guns or explosives that Raiden also has access to. Moving on to Raimi's Spider-Man, and I'm not gonna lie guys, if we're using his feats from his first 3 films alone, then yeah, he definitely gets cooked by Raiden. At best, he's around the city block, maybe town levels of range, due to scaling off of Goblin's pumpkin bombs and the fact that he gets stronger as the series goes on, and he's around hypersonic at best for combat speed. So yeah, if we only use Tobey Maguire from his films, then yeah, he gets cooked. So Raiden fanboys, you can have your flowers on this one. However, that's not where the argument ends, because we also have to factor in No Way Home, which retroactively fucked the scaling for the verse in such a way that characters that you thought were fodder now actually became really strong. Let me explain. Tom Holland's version of Spider-Man was capable of stopping an attack from Cull Obsidian ultra casually in his base form whilst joking about it, with him replicating this feat again in Endgame. So how powerful is Cull? Well, Cull Obsidian was strong enough to tear apart parts of the Hulkbuster Mark II, which should be superior in every way to the version of the Hulkbuster in Age of Ultron that fought an out-of-control Hulk, who should be comparable to his Avengers 1 self, who could fight a weakened Thor and also bully the shit out of Loki. And whilst Thor was indeed nerfed in the first Avengers film, Loki wasn't, meaning any feats from the first Thor films should apply to Loki based off their fights, with Thor with a single strike from Mjolnir being capable of shaking all of Jotunheim Jotunheim, which is an Earth-sized planet, which was calculated to country level, with this being consistent with him destroying Sokovia in Age of Ultron, also country level. With this being consistent once again in Endgame, where in a blink and you miss it moment, Cull Obsidian does actually survive an attack from worthy Captain America, and based off of precedents regarding how Mjolnir works consistently with Jane Foster and Thor himself, if they be worthy, she'll possess the power of Thor, meaning that Captain America would also scale to these country level feats in Endgame, which Cull Obsidian was able to survive, meaning that yes, it is consistent for country level Cull scaling. The reason why this is impressive is because, as I said, Tom Holland's Spider-Man ultra casually whilst joking could stop attacks from Cull Obsidian, would you have characters in No Way Home, such as the returning villains, being able to routinely beat Tom's Spider-Man, with Toby proving off of consistency that he is superior to him, meaning that this scaling would also apply to Toby. First off, we have Green Goblin, who actually humbled Tom Holland's Spider-Man at the apartment battle, and again in the final battle when taking on a bloodlusted, no longer holding back Tom Holland, Goblin could take hits from him and just laugh it off like it's nothing. Compare that to Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, who even when holding back was routinely able to beat Goblin, with Goblin referring to him as being all but invincible, implying that he couldn't take Toby in a fair fight, even all the way back in Spider-Man 1. For Doc Ock, he was capable of taking on an enraged Tom Holland Spider-Man in the Iron Spider suit, with Otto actually winning that fight. And sure, you could make the argument that a hostage was present, meaning that Tom's focus wasn't entirely on Otto. However, that would be a terrible point to make, considering an exhausted Tobey Maguire Spider-Man whose powers were fluctuating was still in a situation similar to that, with him stalemating Otto, meaning that even an exhausted Tobey Maguire would still be comparable to an enraged Iron Spider, which is fucking quite crazy to think about. With the final villain I want to talk about being Lizard, since Toby was the only one of the 3 Spider-Men who actually gave the Lizard a pretty good fight, with Toby even winning that fight if the crane hadn't collapsed, so it's still pretty impressive regardless. So yeah, as far as AP goes, Tobey Maguire, it is very consistent for him to be country level at a low ball, considering he scales massively above characters who reach that level. As far as speed goes in combat, Toby is able to outperform and keep up with Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, who is consistently able to dodge and even statue attacks from Electro, which were described by the Amazing Spider-Man 2's director as being confirmed light speed attacks.
You know, to current or into a light socket or into an electro socket, like how do you fight somebody who can move at the speed of light?
With all 3 Spider-Men able to react to attacks from Electro in No Way Home, who was even more powerful than in TASM 2. And since Electro's blasts are confirmed to be light speed, that would mean that Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man being able to react to them in TASM 2 were calculated to massively faster than light, with this scaling applying to Toby since he could react to the strongest version of Electro and Andrew's Spider-Man respectively. As far as intelligence goes, Peter Parker is obviously a genius, as he's on the same level of Norman Osborn and Otto Octavius when it comes to his academic work. In terms of his combat skill, he is by no means special, however at the same time he does have decades worth of experience. Through chain scaling, you could get him on the same level of skill as characters like Captain America and Winter Soldier. Since MCU Peter could fight then, Green Goblin fought him, he fought Green Goblin, but I don't think it really works that way. Still impressive to think about though. As far as hacks and abilities go, he has the trademark Spider-Man power set. He has webbing that can restrain villains and also stop large heavy objects. He has his spider sense, which allows him to stay 2 steps ahead of his opponent. He is very proficient at stealth. He is incredibly acrobatic. He can stick to pretty much any surface. He has superhuman regeneration and willpower, as even when you bring him to the brink of death, he is capable of instantly shrugging off all injuries and fighting back harder than ever in order to get the win. So now that we've broken down the stats, I think it's pretty clear that there are certain advantages that both characters take. When going over physicals, it's pretty obvious that Spider-Man has the advantage to Raiden across the board. When it comes to AP and durability, they're somewhat close, but even then, Spider-Man far surpasses someone like Senator Armstrong, who is capable of bullying Raiden even when he wasn't taking the fight seriously and when he was trying to manipulate the cyborg to join his cause. Most of Raiden's noticeable AP feats was with the HF weaponry, where he can actually cut shit on a molecular level. When it comes to his actual physicals, he is way outclassed by Spider-Man. Especially when it comes to speed, it's not even close, since whilst yes, Raiden is able to react to light speed attacks, Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man in his debut film could statue light speed attacks, which Tobey would upscale from him. So yeah, even in speed with Jack the Ripper mode and Blade mode, it still wouldn't be close. Spider-Man would definitely be faster, especially when you factor in his agility and his spider sense. When it comes to combat skill, experience, and all of that, yeah, Raiden easily slaps Spider-Man, like it's not even close. Like, he is a fantastic fighter. Whilst both of them are pretty unpredictable in combat, I feel like Raiden has just been trained from birth to be a killer, so he would just be better at Spider-Man when it comes to sword fighting and when it comes to martial arts especially. When it comes to Raiden's hacks, I feel like the electricity generation won't do shit to Spider-Man since he's been able to take attacks from Electro and basically shrug it off. His most valuable assets in this fight will 100% be Blade Form and Jack the Ripper mode, since they amp his physical stats, which is something he's gonna need against someone who massively outclasses him in physicals. Raiden's HF Blade is 100% gonna be the deciding factor in this fight, since if he gets a hold of Spider-Man and actually cuts him with that blade, it's all over. He's just gonna be decapitating him or cutting him in half. That being said, I honestly don't see this happening, since Senator Armstrong ultra casually with one hand could snap the blade in half, and Armstrong has no strength feats even remotely close to Spider-Man, meaning that whilst yes, Peter wouldn't be able to just grab hold of the fucking blade and snap it, he would be able to break the blade, like, easily. He is strong enough to do it. Especially with the webbing, he could briefly restrain Raiden and in a split second get the advantage by breaking the blade, or webbing the blade away from him or what have you. And once that blade is out of the fight, well, it's game over. Raiden is physically outclassed by a massive margin, even if he abuses all of his amps, and whilst yes, he's undeniably the better fighter, he doesn't have a counter for the spider sense or the webs, which are things that he's never had to deal before in his life. And even in the very unlikely scenario that Raiden can actually bring Peter to a near-death state, we see consistently in Spider-Man 1 and 3 that even if you bring Spider-Man to a weakened state or a near-death state, he's capable of instantly shrugging off all his injuries and pulling off a flawless victory just in a fit of rage. So even if Raiden was to get Peter to a near-death state, I honestly don't see it being a win for him either. And that is why at the end of the day, this fight isn't even close. But what do you guys think? Let me know down below. Feel free to subscribe to the channel, tune into live streams every now and then to chat with us, and consider joining the Discord server where we talk about your favorite characters. Have a great rest of your day, guys, and I'll see you all in the next one.